Welcome, everybody, to Crystal, Kyle, and Friends. Today we're going to be talking to Michael Tracy about how there is a looming war with Iran, perhaps other looming wars as well with Mexico and Greenland and shit. I can go on with the list here for a while, but I'll
economy.
Cut it off there. Yeah, so we're going to, in fact, we'll just jump right into that now. So Trump announced Liberation Day the other day and did his whole speech at the White House, and yeah. It's worse than the worst case scenario in terms of what he did with the tariffs.
Yeah.
And then the reaction is basically exactly what every expert would have said it was going to be, which is just complete and utter market implosion. Futures absolutely tanked. And then the next day, we're recording this, guys, by the way, on Thursday. Like, as I'm talking to you right now, when the market had been open for an hour, it was already down like over 1,000 points. We're literally getting announcements of layoffs at companies within the first hour of the market's opening.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to say about like how he did the numbers, how he did the tariffs. By the way, total fucking amateur hour on the specifics, of course, because one of the things they did is they slapped tariffs on an uninhabited island that only has penguins.
Yes.
Also,
a critical economic necessity there.
And the equation that they use to get it is like literal. Like if you go to ChatGPT and type in like, what's the easiest way to calculate some tariffs to put on people, they give you this shit.
Yeah.
So I'll let you take over. There's a lot to say about this.
There is a lot to say. I mean, the TLDR is this is economic terrorism. It does not make any economic sense. There is no intelligent, honest person out there who could say and argue with a straight face that this is an intelligent economic direction to take the country. That person does not exist, okay? If someone is arguing that this is good, they're either an idiot or they're a liar, period. So what is the purpose then? The purpose is the same direction that Trump 2.0 has gone in on any manner of things. It's about Trump consolidating power as an authoritarian. Whether it's the attacks on the media, attacks on law firms, attacks on universities, whether it is the claiming of martial law style powers to deport whoever he wants with zero due process, all of these things are about Trump consolidating power. So if you levy massive tariffs, when you average it all out, we're talking about a 30% tariff, which is far beyond even what the Smoot-Hawley tariffs were.
Which exacerbated the Great Depression.
Which were economically devastating. We're talking about 10 points higher than that. The whole point is so that every country, every industry, every company has to come to Donald Trump on bended knee and beg. And he can dispense favors to, whoever his favored oligarchs or world leaders are. And he can punish anyone who dissents. That's the real, I want to start there. That's what is actually going on here. So, because if you look at these as an economic plan, you're just going to be like, this is insane. Like, it's idiotic, it's insane, it's stupid, how dumb can they be? Do not look at this as an economic plan.
Can I give an example to back up your point here? So, they put 32% tariffs on Taiwan. Okay, we get our chips for all of our electronics from Taiwan. Now, Joe Biden wanted to change that for national security reasons, and he did the CHIPS Act, which would have created 115,000 manufacturing jobs here, high-paying factory jobs where we make the chips here. Trump comes in, kills the CHIPS Act, killing the 115,000 manufacturing jobs that Biden was going to bring back. And then he tariffs Taiwan, who we get our chips from now, which is just a massive tax on every electronic good that you can think of, that you would buy. So to Crystal's point, zero economic sense. So yeah, the idea is, like you said, it's like a mafia boss thing, right? I tariffed you, now you got to come back. Now, right now they're saying there's going to be no exceptions. But of course that's going to change, and when that changes, I'll view that as like final validation for the theory.
Yes.
That effectively what he's doing is twisting everybody's arm. And he could say, I demand a flat rate, or he could say, I demand a percentage. I'll take your tariff percentage from, let's say, 25%. I'll take it all the way down to 2%, but one of those percent is mine.
Right.
Just like a mafia boss.
Yeah, and the favored oligarchs will get their carve-outs, and in exchange...
Oil and gas already did, by the way.
And in exchange, they must be unflinchingly loyal to the great and powerful Donald Trump.
That's right.
That's the plan. So,
but he's out over his skis. This is not gonna work in the long run.
So to give one more example of how utterly insane this is, Arnaud Bertrand laid out this example. So Lesotho is one of the poorest countries in Africa. They're part of a regional trading bloc that sets uniform tariffs. So they have the exact same tariff regime vis-a-vis us as South Africa does. So you would think, oh, then they must have been hit with the same quote-unquote reciprocal tariff. No. Lesotho was hit with a 50% tariff rate. Why? Because we import things like diamonds and other minerals from Lesotho. They are too poor, by and large, to afford like Teslas and iPhones. So we have a trade deficit with them. And Trump views this as that means that like we're getting screwed and they're ripping us off.
Oh my God.
And so Lesotho got hit with a 50% tariff rate. South Africa, which has, again, the identical level of tariffs as us, as Lesotho does vis-a-vis us, they're getting a 30% rate. Namibia, which is in the same block, 21%, Botswana, 37%, etc. So think about this. Even just like consider this one example. Do we want our domestic diamond mining industry to grow? Like, that's not even a possibility because we just don't have the stuff.
That's
right? So now you're devastating Lesotho. Like, this is going to be devastating for them because they do, our import market for their diamonds and whatever other minerals is important. So now they'll be even poorer and have even less of a chance to be able to afford, goods coming out of our market. It's idiotic on every level, except when you think about what the actual end goal is, which is for Donald Trump to consolidate power and be able to dispense the favors of a king or a monarch. Chris Murphy had a good thread about this. I don't know if you read through it. But he said, there's a reason why the founding of our republic, why we gave the power of the purse and to raise revenue to Congress.
To Congress, yeah, to avoid something like this.
Having this situation where the king, because this is, how it worked in monarchies, where the king uses this power to raise revenue as a threat and as a weapon. And so, Trump is just completely running roughshod over this. There are some legal questions over whether or not his grabbing of these extraordinary powers will survive legal scrutiny.
Yeah, because he says it's a national emergency.
Yes.
Which, okay, if there's court cases over that, you have to prove that, bitch. You have to prove there's a national emergency with the uninhabited island of penguins that you just slapped tariffs on.
That's right.
Good luck making that case.
I mean, listen, the courts previously have been very permissive of the president's ability to just declare something an emergency, and they've been they have very broadly interpreted that, specifically when it comes to tariffs. But
here he's lying. He's just lying.
Many of these justices, like the Federalist Society, they select justices because they're like Koch type libertarians.
Right.
They're like very pro-corporate. So you could see this all getting slapped down. There is some effort in the Senate right now, bipartisan, led by Chuck Grassley and I think Maria Cantwell, who's a Democrat, to pass legislation that says these have to be approved by Congress within 60 days. So we'll see where that ultimately goes. But even if the courts strike it down or Congress is successful or Trump himself after a certain period of time is like, just kidding, I struck a grand bargain and look at what a brilliant negotiator I am, blah, blah, blah. If you are any sensible business person, when you have this economic terrorist madman who is running the country, do you think that's going to inspire you to invest and grow and hire? Of course not. And to your point, already we've seen Stellantis announce that they're laying off 900 workers at 5 U.S. facilities. We've seen Whirlpool announce that in Iowa, they're going to have their largest layoff at a manufacturing facility there. Nearly 1/3 of the company's workforce at that Iowa facility will be let go due to current market conditions. So even the best case scenario at this point, where either the courts strike it down or Trump goes back or whatever, damage has already been done. And I cannot tell you how catastrophic all of this is to our country, to working class people. This is a massive regressive tax at a time when there is no buffer to, economies around the world. We are all interconnected. It's hard to wrap your head around, honestly.
So you're a U.S. ally and Trump starts threatening to invade you. Let's say you're Greenland. Let's say you're Canada. Let's say you're Panama. Trump starts threatening to invade you, steal you. Trump's taken 50% of Ukraine's natural resources. He wants a deal like that from them. And for the ones who aren't being threatened to be invaded, he's saying, I'm just going to tariff the fucking shit out of you. Even though we have a free trade deal, even though the letter of the law would be us having to abide by that trade deal, he ripped up his own trade deal with Canada. He made the fucking trade deal, and then he ripped it up.
Right.
If you're one of those countries, you would be fucking insane to lay in a chalk outline of yourself and do nothing in response.
That's right.
So what we're seeing is, you got China, you got Japan, you got South Korea, they all banded together. And they said, if the U.S. tariffs us, we are tariffing them back as a block, right? You have the EU now considering shutting down their economy to all American goods. No more American imports. That's what they're discussing now. So my point is, Trump's actions rely on the notion that we are the indispensable nation and nobody can do anything without us ever because we are the world reserve currency, because we have the most powerful military. This is what every action he's doing here, it relies on that fact. Here's the simple truth, though. That's not going to last much longer since you're acting like a fucking psychopath. People are going to, the whole point is, oh, the U.S. is going to be stable. The U.S. is going to be secure. There's going to be no chaos. They're going to set up a fair deal for everybody. If you come in there like a megalomaniac narcissist and you start doing stuff like this, everybody's going to be looking to strengthen ties with each other and abandon you. Everybody's going to be turning to China going, are you guys more reasonable than this fucking asshole? Because we'll make a deal with you. And so the biggest concern is in the long run, everybody's going to be looking for the door when it comes to the world reserve currency. Why the fuck would you want the dollar to be the world reserve currency when we're run by the mad king? And people really, it's this like status quo bias of like, this is not going to change, right? Go ask fucking the Roman Empire how long it lasted. Go ask the British Empire how long it lasted. Go ask the fucking Malian Empire, or the various Chinese empires. History always changes, right? Things always change. And if you are out over your skis, it will eventually fucking catch up to you. And so that's the point that we're at right now. I really think it's a lack of imagination on the part of Trump and his advisors to realize that, like, in the long run, you are fucking everything. Now, they say in the long run, oh, we're trying to bring back American manufacturing. 100% that's not going to work. Because in order to get American manufacturing back, it's not only tariffs, it's also massive industrial policy where you spend a tremendous amount of government money to beef up our industries here that you want to thrive and succeed. They're not doing any industrial policy. In fact, they're cutting off the industrial policy that Joe Biden tried to do.
That's right.
At the same time, they're cutting our social safety net.
That's right.
So you're going to go after Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, go after the entire social safety net, cut U.S. science funding and things of that nature, total austerity on that front, while at the same time doing massive tariffs. No American companies are going to bring jobs back. It's going to be the opposite. Like you said, they're firing people now already.
And these are manufacturing concerns too. I mean, we're talking about Whirlpool and we're talking about Stellantis. Car manufacturing.
That's right, yeah.
So these are the very industries you claim
we're saving them.
I mean,
you're fucking not.
Again, I think Richard Hanania, who I have many issues with, but I think he made the correct point here. He says authoritarian leaders don't care about the prosperity of the country. If the tariffs stick, it's a massive increase in Trump's personal power. Businesses will be desperate for exceptions. Any jobs created will be dependent on Trump's policies. The corruption is the point. So when you say, like, he's not taking these things into account, I think it's more he doesn't care. You know, he doesn't care
what happens in 70 years to the United States.
He doesn't care if people are poor. He doesn't care if the nation enters a recession or, God forbid, a depression. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if the world, you know, is able to form these new alliances and blocks and, you know, are adversarial to the U.S. in a way that's detrimental to the future. He doesn't care. He does not care. And so, you know, the other thing, and this also accounts for how this is done in such a casual way. I mean, just think about that. Like, this man has just blown up the lives of
millions and millions of people. Millions. It's a tax on every poor and working person in this country of at least 20-25%.
And around the world. I mean, it's insane. Like, I cannot imagine having that on my conscience. And yet he does it so casually. You know, I think, like, it looks like you said, like they literally used ChatGPT to be like, what's the dumbest way to possibly do this? I think it was the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, didn't seem to have any clue what the policy was going to be up till like the announcement. I mean, I think this was either the night before or even the morning of Trump deciding, like, let's do this. You're playing with people's lives. But to him, the specifics of, oh, is it 50% on China? Is it 40%? Is it, what's happening with the EU? What's happening with Vietnam? But it doesn't really matter and that's why he can do it so casually, because the end goal is the same, of making everyone dependent on him. Everyone have to come to him. And so, they throw together this chart. He makes this big announcement. They wait until the markets are closed because they know that it's going to be utterly catastrophic. And it's all in service of his power. And then the last thing to say is I think it will almost certainly cause a recession. Moody's analytics economist is saying it'd be hard to see how we avoid a recession, especially if these tariffs actually go into full effect. Not everyone is a loser in a recession.
Right. That's the point I was going to make. You made this point. The last 2 recessions, what happened? Tell everybody what happened in the last 2 recessions.
Yeah. So, think about the housing crash. Guess what? Out of the housing crash, the banks got bigger than ever.
Top 1% consolidated more wealth.
Tippy top percent became wealthier than ever. For them, it was a buying opportunity. That was really the beginning of the spike of so much permanent capital getting involved in owning homes across the country. COVID, same thing. We all know.
Billionaires
Bezos,
got extraordinarily
Musk,
wealthy.
Zuckerberg, these people got wealthier than ever. So if you are at the tippy top, the type of people, the top of oligarchs that Trump has in his cabinet, in his administration, who were behind him on the stage at the inauguration, a recession is a buying opportunity. This is a chance for them to buy the dip, to buy up even more assets, consolidate even more wealth, money, and power in our economy. And so it shouldn't be lost on people that not everyone loses in a recession. There are a very small select group that have curried favor with this administration or are actively in this administration who stand to amass massive wealth and power. And the lower the drop, the more they stand to benefit.
And what does Trump say all the time? The 1890s, the time when we were the most rich in this country. We were so rich. The 1890s is the fucking Gilded Age. Mm-hmm. You're talking about tenement homes. You're talking about no child labor laws. You're talking about people losing their hands in factory machinery because there's no regulations whatsoever. And the wealthy had everything.
Yeah.
And that's what he wants, is he wants to create a situation where him and his oligarch buddies have all of the wealth and everybody is completely and utterly reliant on them because they own the whole country. That's the idea. That's what he's trying to bring about.
That's right.
And then the final point I wanted to make is, because this is just, to me, this is... I noticed yesterday, some of the numbers on the chart that Trump showed were just totally made up. And not this is an inconsequential thing that's made up. He claims that China charges 67% tariffs on the U.S. The real number is 2.3%. And you can go down the list here. He says the European Union charges us 39% tariffs. They charge us 1.4%.
Yeah, well, this is where they're using that made up equation that just basically, if we have a trade deficit, then that's what we're equating to them having a tariff on us. So it's bizarre. And the White House tried to deny that, and then they put out what the equation was, and it just confirmed that no, what people thought was the equation.
The dumbest possible way. So I'll just give people one example, right? So Vietnam. They said Vietnam charged us a 90% tariff. The actual number is 1.2%. And guess what? So this is Trump's big, he thinks it's like some jujitsu move to tell everybody how kind he's being.
Right.
He says, the USA discounted reciprocal tariff. So in other words, you charge us really high, we're not going to be as bad as you. We'll do less than what you're doing because we're so magnanimous. Right? 46% is what he's charging Vietnam. They charge us 1.2. He wants to charge them 46%. And again, he lied and said they charge us 90%. This is fucking, I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss.
Yeah. No, and I just put together, how he talks about, and he talked a lot on Inauguration Day about a new golden age. I think that's a direct takeoff on the Gilded Age.
Right.
I think he is directly pulling that from, because he has this idea of wanting to return to the Gilded Age when people like him, it was in that era where J.P. Morgan literally bailed out the entire federal government.
That's right.
Outside of just the nation was a lot poorer and smaller, and that was also the beginning of imperialism under McKinley. But it was also a time of a bunch of bank runs and financial panics. This was not a smooth sailing time economically. And so, yeah, his references to that era are both insane, but also revealing of how he actually wants the economy to work. And also the more revenue that comes in through, you know, a tariff regime, the more he feels like he can use that money for his pet projects and dispatch it the way that he wants to dispatch it. And so it is part of a broader project of an authoritarian power grab shift towards fascism and oligarchy.
And kakistocracy.
That's how this should be seen. This should not be seen as an economic program. It is, and of course, it will have devastating economic effects, like mind-blowing, thousands and thousands more dollars that working class people will have to pay in order to maintain just, you know, the basics of what they're spending right now. And they're already not in a great place to be able to absorb such a shock. Companies will go under. Layoffs have already begun. The global fallout will be massive as well. But the goal of this is not really an economic goal. The goal is a power goal.
Hey guys, sign up for Crystal, Kyle, and Friends on Substack below if you want to see the longer conversation here. Michael Tracy goes into all different aspects of Trump's horrific neocon, bloodthirsty, warmongering foreign policy. Unfortunately, this is something that many people aren't talking about nearly enough, but they have grand plans, and they're horrible grand plans, and you're going to want to see this whole conversation. Sign up below.